The kid from Akron. The wind howled through the cracked windows of a rusted apartment complex in Akron, Ohio. Inside, a young boy sat silently on the edge of a stained mattress, his small hands gripping a worn-out basketball. His name was LeBron James, and at just 9 years old, he had already lived in more homes than birthdays. His mother, Gloria, paced the room, phone pressed to her ear, chasing yet another job opportunity. She was barely in her 20s, fierce, determined, and carrying the weight of 2 lives on her back. They had no car, no father, and sometimes no electricity, but they had each other. And for LeBron, that was enough, until it wasn't. School was a blur of unfamiliar hallways and absent desks. LeBron never stayed long enough to make friends. He was the quiet kid in the back, the one whose clothes didn't fit right and whose shoes squeaked too loud. He hated that silence followed him, like an echo of loneliness he couldn't shake. Then came Frankie Walker, a local youth football coach with a stern jaw and a soft heart. Frankie saw something in LeBron that others missed. Not just athleticism, but a quiet hunger. Not for fame, not for points. For stability. One late December evening, after Gloria asked Frankie to look after her son for a little while, LeBron stepped into a new world, a real bedroom, regular meals structure. Frankie didn't just coach him, he mentored him. Taught him discipline, how to be accountable, how to believe. LeBron blossomed under that roof. The boy who once feared permanence now begged for extra drills, stayed after practice, and carried his books home like trophies. But under every smile was the unspoken fear, what if it all disappears again? One night, after practice, Frankie handed him a new basketball. Clean, orange, perfect. LeBron looked up. Is it really mine? Frankie nodded. Only if you're ready to take care of it. I will, LeBron whispered, holding it like treasure. I promise. It wasn't just a ball. It was proof that someone believed in him. That he could be something more than a shadow in a forgotten neighborhood. That maybe, just maybe, the world was bigger than his zip code. In the quiet of that evening, as snow began to fall, LeBron stood in the driveway, shooting alone under a flickering porch light. Each shot whispered a truth he was beginning to understand. The ball could bounce him out of the chaos. He didn't know it yet, but the journey had begun. A journey from a silent boy in tattered clothes to a name the world would one day chant in unison. And as the ball arced high against the black sky and swished through the net, he whispered into the cold. Someday, they'll know my name. The chosen one. By the time LeBron James turned 16, Akron wasn't just his hometown, it was a stage. Every time he laced up his sneakers for St. Vincent, St. Mary High School, bleachers overflowed, not with classmates, but with cameras, reporters, and NBA scouts craning for a glimpse. A kid from broken sidewalks was now hailed as a once-in-a-generation prodigy. The whispers turned to headlines. The chosen one. That's what Sports Illustrated called him. 3 bold words stamped on a national cover with his high school jersey stretched across his still-growing frame. The article didn't read like a profile, it read like prophecy. And for a teenager barely old enough to drive, it felt like chains disguised as praise. On the court, LeBron was electric. Court vision that rivaled point guards, a body built like a forward, and a mind that dissected plays like a veteran coach. But off the court, the pressure seeped in, slow, heavy and inescapable. Every missed shot wasn't just a mistake, it was an invitation for doubt. Every smile was picked apart, every friend was questioned. At the heart of this whirlwind stood LeBron, still grounded in loyalty. He didn't ditch his childhood crew for flashy agents or corporate handlers. Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, Randy Mims, the same boys who rode bikes with him through Akron, were now at his side, riding the storm with him. Their bond was built on more than business. It was survival. But not everyone cheered. Jealous rivals, suspicious adults, critics who questioned his eligibility over a gifted Hummer or whether he accepted free gear. He wasn't just playing basketball anymore. He was navigating landmines of expectation and envy. The kid who once feared being invisible now felt overexposed. One night after a particularly brutal media storm, LeBron sat in the empty school gym, head lowered, sweat cooling on his brow. The echo of the bouncing ball long gone. I didn't ask for this, he muttered to the silence. Coach Drew Joyce stepped beside him, voice low and firm. Pressure breaks boys, LeBron. But pressure also shapes kings. LeBron didn't answer. He didn't have to. He stood, picked up the ball, and resumed shooting, mechanical, methodical, a boy chasing mastery, not glory. The next day, the decision was made. He would enter the NBA draft straight out of high school. No college, no safety net, just belief. The world watched with bated breath. LeBron didn't smile on draft night. He stood calm, suit crisp, heart thundering beneath it. He wasn't celebrating. He was arriving. Because when they called his name, with the first pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James. He didn't hear applause. He heard that small boy in Akron whisper, "Someday, they'll know my name." And now the world finally did. The villain of Miami. 7 years. That's how long LeBron James gave to Cleveland. 7 years of highlight reels, MVP chants, and empty promises. No rings. No parades. Just mounting pressure and aching disappointment. He had carried the city like a crown made of iron, and it was crushing him. So he made a choice. Under bright studio lights and national television, LeBron sat across from Jim Gray and uttered the words that would split his legacy in two. "I'm going to take my talents to South Beach." In an instant, adoration turned to outrage. Cleveland fans burned his jerseys in driveways. Murals were defaced, effigies set ablaze. The hometown hero became a national villain, painted as arrogant, disloyal, cold. The decision wasn't just criticized, it was vilified. But LeBron wasn't running from Cleveland. He was chasing something greater. A championship. Something he knew he couldn't win alone. Miami offered more than sunshine. It offered allies. Dwayne Wade, already a champion with ice in his veins, and Chris Bosh, a versatile big man hungry for greatness. Together, they weren't just teammates. They were a statement. The press dubbed them the Heatless. And LeBron, once the golden boy, now wore the black hat. Every arena booed him. Every failure was dissected. He smiled less, spoke carefully, played harder. But something was off. He had the skill, the stats, the spotlight, but he didn't yet know how to win. In the 2011 NBA Finals, he vanished under pressure. The Dallas Mavericks exploited his hesitation, his reluctance to dominate. The Heat lost, and the narrative hardened. LeBron James isn't built for this. The criticism wasn't just noise, it was a wound. One that festered quietly behind closed doors. LeBron stopped trying to be loved. He studied, trained, transformed. The boy from Akron stripped away the need for approval and built a new version of himself. Stronger, colder, smarter. The next season, he was a storm. He led Miami to a 27-game win streak, posted career-best efficiency, and shut out critics with thunderous dunks and surgical passes. The Heat surged through the playoffs like a team possessed. In 2012, under the searing lights of the NBA Finals, LeBron stood tall against Kevin Durant and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This time, he didn't flinch. He dictated every play, every possession. Game 5, final buzzer, confetti rained, and LeBron dropped to his knees. He had done it. A champion at last. "I had to go through the fire," he said in the post-game interview, voice shaking. "I had to become someone else. Not the hometown boy, not the chosen one, but a man forged in rejection." He didn't just silence the world. He evolved in front of it. And deep down, the kid from Akron smiled. Because now, they didn't just know his name. Legacy in motion. The prodigal son returned. In 2014, LeBron James wrote a letter, not to the media, not to the league, but to Ohio. In it, he didn't promise championships. He promised purpose. After 4 dominant years in Miami and 2 titles, LeBron came home. Not to reclaim affection, but to fulfill a vow, bring a championship to the place that raised him. The city was hesitant. Fans who once booed him now watched cautiously. But LeBron didn't come back to be forgiven. He came back to lead. He joined a young, untested core. Kyrie Irving, fiery and fearless. Kevin Love, quiet and unproven in the playoffs. The path wasn't smooth. Injuries, egos, and the relentless pressure of expectation shadowed every step. Then came 2016. The finals. Cavaliers versus Warriors. David versus Goliath. A team that had won 73 games, led by unanimous MVP Stephen Curry, stood between LeBron and history. Down 3-1, the world counted Cleveland out. The city braced for heartbreak. Again. But LeBron didn't blink. He roared back with 3 of the greatest performances the sport has ever seen. A triple-double in Game 7. A soul-crushing block on Andre Iguodala, forever frozen in time. Kyrie hit the dagger, but it was LeBron who dropped to the floor in tears as the buzzer sounded. Cleveland had a title. At last. It wasn't just a win, it was redemption. A full circle. The kid with no stability had just brought immortality to an entire region. But LeBron's story didn't stop there. In Los Angeles, he found a new role. Not just a player, but a father, a mentor, an entrepreneur, a cultural force. He launched the I Promise School in Akron, giving underprivileged children what he once lacked: consistency, hope, and opportunity. Critics questioned his age, his hunger, whether his greatness was behind him. He responded by leading the Lakers to a title in 2020 amidst a global pandemic in the silent, sterile bubble of Orlando. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a testament to who he had become. Relentless, no matter the noise, no matter the stage. Now, past the age where most superstars fade, LeBron keeps going, not for records, but for legacy. His name etched in every category.